20 seconds behind.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Looks like we have present Dan Landrum, Maggie Green, Judy Beatty, Sandy Pardlow, and Karen Glendenning, in addition to myself.
Anybody tries to look at it, it'll be about 20 seconds behind. That's me. Hold on.
And there it is.
Okay.
So I guess we'll approve the previous meeting's minutes if there's a motion.
I so move.
Second.
I want to actually make a correction. The minutes don't note my presence here.
No, that's right.
Anybody want to move to accept with that update?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Well, Brett,
Aye.
you need to
Yes.
take, for for official meetings, you have to do a roll call vote on everything.
Okay, on each vote?
Everything we vote on has to be a roll call vote. Correct.
Oh, okay, sure. So, and Dan, you do not vote.
I do.
You do, yes. Okay, so Dan, how would you vote?
I would say approve them.
Maggie,
Approve.
Judy,
Approve.
Sandy,
Approve.
Karen?
I don't vote.
Oh, that's right. Yep, my bad. Motion passes. And the financial report, I guess we
I sent that to you all.
Yep.
Mhm.
I'll pull up those numbers since Ed's not here.
Okay.
Looks like for the period April 1st through April 30th, beginning balance was $20,578.97. There was one deposit of $50, one payment of $15.88, ending balance $20,613.09. That 1588 check was a payment to Comcast.
Just a second. Dan, Annette says she's in the waiting room and won't be let in.
Tell her we'll vote on that.
He said we'll vote on that. No, he's working on it. Okay, thank you.
There she is.
Yes, okay, great.
Hello.
Hi.
We decided to keep you on the island.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Annette.
Hey, Annette, how are
Annette.
you?
Hello, Annette.
Pretty well. Pretty good. Good to see your faces.
You too. Karen, would you like to do the librarian's report?
Yes, and I have a lot to say, but I'm going to try to say it as quickly as possible. This is a brief review of what's been going on at the library for the last month and a half. During the time we've been closed, most of the staff have been working our regular hours. We have weeded extensively in juvenile nonfiction, juvenile fiction, young adult, and juvenile biography. And we've purchased lots of new books to replace outdated volumes and reorganized and spiffed up the juvenile and children's sections. The checkouts of ebooks have increased since we closed for the pandemic on March 16th. Since then, we've had 461 ebooks checked out. That's much higher than usual. And we have a few people come sit in the parking lot or on benches to use our Wi-Fi, but most of our patrons, we feel, have internet service at their home. We've also weeded adult fiction and biography sections. Deleting titles have not been checked out for several years and removing books that are really worn out. And we've added lots of new fiction and nonfiction. A few publishers have postponed publications of new books, but so far most scheduled releases for spring have been available for us to buy. To deal with all the withdrawn library books, we held a bag sale of children's books last Wednesday. We put the books on the back patios tables and benches and invited patrons to shop while social distancing and put their payments in the book drop by the front door. We are excited to tell you that we sold about 160 bags of 4 books each in less than 3 hours.
Wow.
And people were waiting to get here, so it was really a success. We plan to have another sale next week. At this time, it's going to feature adult fiction and biography, and we'll let you know about that date in the email blast. It depends somewhat on the weather. We're hoping to get the town guys to put up a tent on the patio so that we could have it even if it does rain, but we'll just see. We have regularly sent out email blasts containing tips on lots of virtual tours, games, activities, and information for adults and children, and families have written to thank us for these tips. So we'll continue to do that throughout the summer. We're having the door into the workroom from the entry made into a Dutch door, which we think will help protect the staff when we reopen. And we've also bought shields that will go on the checkout desks. I'd like for you to approve a grant that I would like to apply for. It's a CARES grant from the Tennessee State Library and Archives, and it would provide funds for an increased Wi-Fi signal and gloves, a touchless thermometer, hand sanitizer, and special disinfecting cleaning projects. I'd like to send this request in this week, so I'd like to ask for approval to do this tonight. And maybe I need to do that again when we have the new business, but I just thought I'd go in and mention it. Now, we've extended the checkout dates on all books until April the 30th, and then we extended them again to May the 30th. We don't think we're going to change that because we want to have a chance to get the books back in that are out back in and get them ready to go out again, since they have to remain in quarantine for several days before we can even touch them. In the first week of June, we plan to begin calling patrons that have books on reserves and tell them to come get them. And we'll do a curbside pickup type thing. Next, we'll reopen the reserve system. It's been closed this whole time because we just knew that if we had it open, we would never get it. We wouldn't have any place to put all the books that people put on reserve. So we'll reopen that system and we'll tell people about that. And then we'll do a curbside checkout for these items. And if this seems to work well, we may continue that method for several weeks anyway. We've canceled the summer reading program. We hated to do that, but it really can't be duplicated virtually. The fun of it is being in the room with all those other children and seeing all the things and touching everything. But we will still provide reading logs to the children who request them. And we're in the process of purchasing as many books on the local schools required reading lists in the ebook format, as many as we can afford. We have not previously purchased any ebooks in children's because they're so expensive, but we feel this is a good way to help our young students right now. And we'll also buy the books on the list in physical format so people can just reserve those like they normally would. As far as when we think we should reopen, we really don't have a time. I think we just have to wait and see. I've talked to lots of librarians and I've communicated with some that are local and then some throughout the state. And nobody is really sure how they're going to handle the letting patrons back in, because the issue is that when we have preserved books, we can take them to them and then we can let them sit in quarantine. But if we have people come in, they will touch things and then how will we disinfect them? It's very difficult. We can't really follow patrons around just and tell them not to touch anything. So we haven't figured out how we're going to handle that yet. And we're kind of waiting for some guidance. The American Library Association is supposed to be putting out some more guidelines on how to do these things, but we haven't gotten them yet. Anybody questions?
All clear.
Okay, Karen, this is Judy. I wonder about making gloves available and have everybody wear gloves when they're touching.
Now, that is something that we've thought about, and I have ordered some gloves already. They haven't come though. They're just impossible to find right now. The town can't even seem to find them, but that isn't a possibility. And we would plan to have a hand sanitizing station right inside the door anyway. We'd probably only let a few people in at a time so we could keep the number low. And what we would probably do is ask them to put the hand sanitizer on and sign their name so that we'll know how many people are in the library at a time. And then when somebody leaves, we let somebody else in. It's awkward, and there may be a better way, but that's the only thing we've heard of so far.
I think the issue for the library, Karen, is the social distancing.
Yeah.
And it's hard to jurisdict that for 6 feet.
Mhm.
I mean, what do you do about kids? And I think, I did some more reading from the IMLS and the CDC about large groups gathering and community gathering. And that's going to be the real issue, is protecting the staff as well as protecting the patrons.
Mhm.
And I just think it's going to be hard to maintain the 6 feet.
Oh,
And
I
I think that it looks like, from what I've read on the web and the IMLS, everybody's struggling with how to do that in the libraries, trying to really make the library available, but keeping those guidelines well within everybody's view. So I think you're right about waiting to see what people have to say. It was interesting, the CDC talked about COVID on books as being not as much of a problem because it's not a porous substance. And so that made me feel a little bit better too, that they didn't think the quarantine needed to be that long for books. But they still have to clean everything in the library all the time.
Mhm.
And so that's another piece. It does not seem to be solved just yet.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, I commend everything you're doing. It's, you're trying very hard to be open to the community to the extent that you can within a really extraordinary time.
Thank you.
Any unfinished business? New business? Committee
I
report.
think this would be the time maybe to vote on whether or not I can do that. I can
grant?
apply for the grant.
Yeah.
Bill wanted me to ask the board to vote on that.
Yeah, can you, don't hurry, give us as much detail as you can about that.
Okay. All right. This is a CARES grant and it came from the Tennessee Library Association. Sent me the form to fill out. And some of the things that they're offering are things that we don't do. Some of the things are like some libraries, especially in underserved areas, offer computers or ebooks or the actual device for people to check out. And that's one of the things that this CARES grant would be for, but we don't need to do that. And I wouldn't want to ask for something that we really don't need to have. I don't want to be greedy about it, but we could use some expanded Wi-Fi capability, and we could also, it would be wonderful to have those cleaning supplies. And the amount of money, I had to write it down and everything, look up everything, and it's about not quite $900. So that's not really a lot of money. There's lots of money in this grant, $35,000 for big cities and $20,000 for smaller libraries and smaller places. So, I mean, not $20,000 for everyone, but $20,000 among them all. So I felt like asking for that was not unreasonable. And all I want to do is just have your permission to apply for the grant. And I've spoken with Sam about it and gone through the items with him. So, I thought maybe I had to do the grant through him, but he said no, that we could just do it ourselves if the library board approved it.
So I would move to approve.
Thank you.
I second.
Yes, of course. Yep.
So Dan, I don't have to call on you to vote individually since you made the motion, correct?
No, when we do the vote, it's a roll call vote, but if there's
Yeah,
any
right.
discussion, now will be the time to get that in.
Yeah. All right. Any discussion? And so Maggie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
I vote yes. Sandy?
Yes.
And Dan, so you don't have to confirm your vote since you moved.
No, you do, because you do actually,
Okay.
because sometimes you'll make a motion. The order is supposed to be you make the motion, then you have the discussion. Sometimes you make a motion with the purpose of voting something down, or
Okay.
just to have
all
the
right.
discussion. So, but in this
Okay.
case, I vote yes.
All right. So the motion passes.
Oops.
And
Annette.
Oh,
You
yes,
forgot
Oh,
Annette.
I'm sorry. I didn't see down there. Net.
my penance for being tardy.
Right. Yes. You get dismissed. All right. So it's unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. So committee reports, policy and development. facilities and systems. Maybe that'd be a good time to give a cursory update of the fundraising efforts, the capital campaign. I just before our meeting received an email from Carter, and
Yes.
it's not extremely brief. Carter's good with details, but I will, I'll give a real bullet point sort of coverage of it. And Karen, please feel free to fill in on anything I gloss over a little too quickly. I'm assuming we'll hear more from Carter after they return from the beach, but he points out, well, he mentioned the branding campaign, is completed, and we've titled the campaign "Expanding Our Story." He mentions that even with the pandemic, donor activity continues, and we're receiving ongoing gifts of $50,000 to $20,000 in bits and pieces. He points out the obvious challenges of a global pandemic and not being able to hold our gala fundraiser, and the recession that'll likely be caused by the pandemic will probably make it difficult to get the same donations we would have previously. He says that the total in the community foundation is currently $203,000, and we've got another $74,000 in unfulfilled pledges. Okay, so he mentioned something here. So one thing we've learned is that the money from the community foundation can be invested in a number of ways, and all of our money, or the money, was put in a long-term fund that sort of accepts the dips and peaks in the market, and no precautionary steps were taken to move that out. It's really the way the community foundation is set up. It's not geared towards fast and light movements with your investment planning. And so all of our money was in that sort of riskier area and dipped down as low as $19,000 in the worst of the market declines. And it's, of course, recovered somewhat, but Carter has come up with a plan to gradually transfer all of that money into funds that can be more stable and immediately liquid and available for us. And so he staged that in a way that we will benefit from the recovery of the markets. Hopefully over the next few months. We've already seen huge recovery, some today, and so hopefully we've already gotten, last time we looked at it, I think we'd recovered a half of that money. So surely we'll recover the majority of the money by the time we're ready to do anything and spend it. But that was a little spot of education we had recently.
Well, I'm confused now. So
Yeah.
If you put $100 in, that $100 doesn't stay, and you're talking about the dip. $100 is purchasing
So
equities.
Yeah, exactly. So all of the money that's put into our community foundation account gets invested, and so it's not insured, it's not guaranteed, and there's risk in those investments, and so we're currently down on some of those.
So am I muted?
You're good.
We heard you.
It went from $200,000 to $19,000 at one
No,
point?
no.
No. We lost at the worst. We lost $19,000.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. We sorry.
That's better.
Sorry, bouncing around. No, yeah. So, and we've recovered about half of that. So, and there's no way of looking any given moment and seeing what the value of your account is. It's very I mean, it's something that's just not meant to be touched and manipulated a lot. It's a kind of kludgy system, and you can only really identify your exact balance at the end of a given period. So you just can't really easily determine to the dollar what your account is worth any given day. But we do know that we've recovered more than half of that $19,000. I mean, if we could look at what the balance was at the end of the day today, you know, we most certainly would have been close to where we were to begin with. But
Right, but that's not to say what it'll be a week from today as well.
right, which is
That's
why he's made this staged plan to, you know, we don't want to just say, oh, we lost $19,000, let's move all of our money and then eliminate the possibility of recovering that $19,000. So instead we did like, you know, most people did when the markets plummeted, and we just sat and waited on things to bounce back up, and we're on an upward trend, and we want to take advantage of that as the investments recover and transfer out the funds that have recovered into lower interest bearing, more stable, you know, type of account. And we can do that with bits and pieces of it. We don't have to transfer the entire balance. So
But it would still all stay within the community foundation.
yes, just a different pocket. Yeah.
Right. We obviously don't have to discuss this now, but I still am not sure that that's where money that we have targeted for something ought to be, because they charge us for it, and
Yeah.
if it's going to be a while before we spend it.
Right. Well, that's a good point. And as we move this money in stages into more liquid accounts, you know, we could talk about moving it into a different account altogether. And long term, right. I mean, we've talked about whether the community foundation is the right vehicle, but I agree.
Yeah, it's always, there's no charge if the town manages that and it doesn't get touched. It's still tucked away, so that option is always still there.
Right. It'd be interesting to look, you know, at the past couple of years at what our rate of return has been and how much we've benefited from having it in that situation. But presumably we've made more money than we spent on the management fees, and you know. Anyway, scanning to the bottom of Carter's email, he kind of summarizes saying that to him it seems increasingly unlikely we'll, you know, start any construction before early 2021, assuming that the estimated cost holds around the 600,000 mark that we're sitting on right now.
Are we under any time-sensitive contractual obligations for anything we've done with the architects or anything at this point?
No, I mean, we haven't spent any money other than the architect and the cost estimate itself. So no, there's no clock running on anything. Other than, you know, obviously maintaining some momentum with the fundraising and avoiding fatiguing our donor base, and you know, we want to get that done and wrapped up, and everybody wants to quit hearing that story and wants to see the progress. So, so that's all I have for facilities and systems. Unless anybody has any other questions about fundraising, I might be able to dig up an answer here. What about?
No, I would like to say that I've been pleasantly surprised that we've continued to receive checks every week. Some, you know, some real surprises, some that we anticipated, but you know, it's been good. We feel like not everybody's forgotten. So.
That's good.
I don't think anybody in the community would be surprised if the date of starting any of this was pushed back.
No.
I mean, I think it's, again, extraordinary times. I think people would say, well, that seems an appropriate decision to make at this time. So,
Sure. Yeah.
you know, I think actually it just makes us more part of the community, because everybody's looking at their own budget and saying, what do I think I need to do right now? So.
Right. I'm not suggesting anybody would fault us.
Yeah.
It's just a natural fatigue
Sure.
flow of the process. You know, people people get excited, they hear the announcement, they eagerly donate, then they want to see some action, and it's disappointing things languish.
Yep.
What kind of donor updates are we doing? Or are we doing any?
As far as discussing totals or communicating with the donors, what do you?
Communicating with the donors, and
Yeah.
if we're not, I'm wondering if maybe this isn't the time to consider formalizing that just a bit, because it's obviously going to take a little longer.
Yeah, I don't know of any specific email campaigns to update people. Karen, what?
No, I don't know of any, but I do think that's something that we could talk to Carter about and see what he thinks, because and he's been in touch with some of these larger donors and just privately himself. And my real connection is just writing thank you notes,
I think that's a
which
good
we,
idea.
we've certainly done, but yeah,
I think an update is a good idea.
I think that's a good idea.
I'm not aware of any real planning that's gone into trying to replace the gala as our primary fundraising event, but I'm assuming at some point we'll try to get creative with some sort of a function that'll replace that in an appropriate way, given concerns. But I mean, that hurts, I think, to lose the sort of major event, and it'd be great to replace that rather than just carrying on.
I know there's an effort underway that may or may not meet with success or even permission to do it, since there's not going to be a play this summer. That property is town property, and if you could have an event and social distance properly, that's a pretty good property to do it on.
Yeah.
Something that was by invitation only. So I'm not saying anything immediate, but it's something to think about in the future.
Right.
We're going to need to do something
Mm-hmm.
to keep interest up, and so maybe that's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great
that's
idea. Something outside is kind of the obvious, and I think that event that would have been at Marcrest would have been as much outside as inside anyway. And
Right.
not that I don't know that there's any discussion to still try to have anything outdoors there, but maybe we could do that, or at the Playhouse or somewhere similar.
Yeah. It would feel awkward even if everyone said we wanted to do it, to say we're going to do it at your house. Bring a bunch of people.
Right.
That doesn't feel like the right thing to do right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Agree. I'm sure we could work out some sort of a flow, limit the number of people that we have any one place, any one time.
Have you talked about doing a virtual fundraiser, virtual gala? I know Tennessee River Gorge Trust is doing that in June.
Oh, good. You can tell us all about it.
Yeah, I can. I know, it's the price is reduced. So it's like $30 a login. So the whole family can be there and participate. And they have some of their sponsors are like there's a restaurant that's sending out recipes, and so that people can make this special food for the event and eat it together. They usually have the signature cocktails. So I think that Seed Company, they're going to send out the recipes for those, and you can have, they're partnering with a Chattanooga whiskey and some other vendors to deliver the actual ingredients for it to your house. So they're doing a lot of different things, and I'm happy to take notes and share.
That's great. That sounds
That's
very
great.
creative. That's exactly what we need to think about.
Yeah. And in the works, but not a guarantee that it's going to happen, is we've ordered some equipment, not at the town's expense, but at private donation expense, to be able to do live events from the stage at the MAC. Streaming, like see the quality of the camera that I'm on now, it's a DSLR, using using switchers and things so we can hop around from camera to camera and have, as opposed to just one shot things. It seems like that's going to be something that is going to be needed for a while. And the idea there is to make it so it can be available for teachers who maybe want to do concerts and teach, but certainly would be the kind of thing that would be good for other community fundraising events and things. So I'll keep you up on that as it becomes a reality.
Sounds good.
All right. Is there a school and community relations report?
Well, I'll say that I've gotten most of the reading lists for the schools. That's part of what we do with the schools, is getting these reading lists. And sometimes it's like pulling teeth, but we've gotten most of them, so we're in pretty good shape. And I've made a list of what we're going to order, so I'm hoping to do that this week. Then we'll send out an email blast and explain that they can not only eventually get a book, an actual physical book from the library, but they can also have an ebook, check out an ebook on it.
Good.
I'm sorry, I missed the part. Maybe you talked about that before I came, or maybe my brain is just really extra slow. Who can check out a book?
Well,
A book?
what we're going to do is we're going to buy the books that are on the summer reading list in ebook format. We will also buy them in physical book format, but we're going to try to buy them as many as we can afford in ebook format, because that'll just double the amount of books that can be read. And we felt like that would help people, especially people that really didn't want to get out. If we do the physical books, it'd be in this idea of the drive up
Curbside,
curbside pickup thing. But they would also be available in ebook. We have just never ever bought children's books in ebook format because they're so expensive. A book that would normally cost like $28, if you went to the bookstore and bought it, you would pay $80 lots of times.
Wow.
The tenth of the length.
Just crazy, but that's the way it is. And plus, most of them are only good for 26 checkouts, so they're only good for 2 years. So, but we still feel like it would be a good service to do.
Sure.
And we want to help.
It's a good idea. Thank you for explaining that to me.
I don't know that we have, just again thinking down the road, I don't know that we have much need for this, but schools, when they do go back in, they're not gonna be the same, and they may have some special needs that emerge that might make libraries be a definite adjunct to what's happening. So we can keep our eyes open for innovation in that, and maybe figure out ways to involve us in that.
All right, so this is it for the summer. We are off until September 21st. I'm sure there'll be some communication this summer.
Yes, there'll be communication from me.
Continues,
I'll be sure to stay in touch with everybody and let them know what's going on, what we've tried and what's worked. And
Hey, Karen, if this is Sandy, if need be, could we do another Zoom? If we can't gather, and if there's enough information, is what I'm saying, that it would be, rather than you try to communicate with each one, would that be a possibility that we might do?
Yes, and we could do that anytime y'all wanted to do that. I think we could do that. But I'll send out email blasts, I'll just send out emails to the board about this, about what's going on. But I'll be glad to. I think Dan will set it up again, I bet.
Who makes the final decision when the library reopens?
Well, that's a good question. I think that the board does, not the town. So what I would think we would do is the staff would work on a plan, present it to the board, and the board would either okay it or not. That's what I assume is the right thing to do. I think that's what we're supposed to do.
Karen?
Yes.
So, Judy, are we watching other libraries to see what they're doing?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm really talking to a lot of libraries. I've talked to local libraries, and I've also gotten emails from the Tennessee Library Association has a list serve that everybody that is a member gets an email from, and everybody is sharing. And I've written and told them what we're doing and sharing their ideas. And everyone is in the same boat as we are, because people forget that we have to, not only do we have to have people in there, we take books back. We don't just hand them out, we get them back. And so we have to have systems to be able to handle it. That's why we do this quarantine thing. We've been quarantining in the entrance area hall of the library, but we're going to move that into the children's section, because we know we are not going to have children in there for a while, because it's just too dangerous. So what we'll let parents check out books for children, especially on reserve books, but we'll just make that into our kind of our quarantine space, where we keep books for 72 hours before we touch them. And that's what everyone says. That's what the Smithsonian says, that 72 hours is enough for a book. It's not enough for a tablet. It's not enough for a computer. So those things have to actually be cleaned.
Yeah. And they're probably easier to clean than a book.
Yeah. True.
Because-
Well, there were some people that thought that they could irradiate the books, and some library I read, they put all their books in some room, but then I don't know who turned the pages, so that didn't make any sense.
Yeah. We have the town's budget meeting is Wednesday.
Mhm.
From the time that you communicated with Boyd to now, do you think anything's changed that I need to deliver to them? Well, I guess we'll see you Wednesday.
I'll be there. Yeah. No, I don't think so.
It's going to be a Zoom meeting, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. And Annette, are you keeping minutes? We got permission from the attorney to give draft minute reports to keep citizens more up to date on what's happening. Do you think you can get me something before Wednesday?
Sure.
Thank you.
If you tell me what happened before I came on, while you were making me wait in the waiting room.
We can't do that because nothing happened.
Then the minutes will be, no treasurer's report? Well,
No.
we read
No,
that.
we do have a treasurer's
That
report.
was okay.
I mailed it
Sent
to
it-
you.
You sent it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Annette, it's online. You can go to YouTube, to the town's website, and see all of this again.
Oh, I don't think I'd want to do that, but.
Really?
Oh, you're on YouTube, Annette. Annette, you're on YouTube.
She did miss that part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Karen, just to kind of be clear, we don't have a scheduled meeting until September 21st. We hope that sometime between now and then, we'll figure out a safe strategy for reopening the library in some way. You're going to watch what other libraries are doing, but in your mind, is there some sort of a threshold or a change that needs to happen before? I mean, barring some sort of innovation that you haven't thought through yet, when will it be possible to have patrons in the library? When
Well,
peak
I
and
don't
now are in
know.
decline?
I think that having patrons in the library like we used to is who knows when that's going to be available, when we'll be able to do that. I do think we'll be able to let 10 people in. I mean, that's kind of what people have said. Let 10 people in and try to keep, tell them they have to stay 6 feet apart and try to, it's a lot of monitoring and we really, we've worked so hard not to be a place where we have to shush people and tell them what to do. We've worked hard to make it friendly, and we hate to take that all away. And so that's one of the reasons that we would want to have just a few people in there, so we wouldn't have to fuss at anybody. But your guess is as good as mine.
Does Hamilton County Health Department need to be involved in the decision to reopen?
I don't know.
So far, they haven't added anything to the governor's pledge. Hamilton County has chosen not to do that. They could at any time, but they haven't so far. And are you seeing are you getting the guidance from the governor's office, the executive orders and the
Yes.
amendments to all that? Okay.
And I get stuff from the Tennessee Library Association, but I also get it from the American Library Association. So I'm getting a lot. I probably have 3 times as many emails as I normally do because of that, because there's just a whole lot of conversation about it.
Are you
And,
able to keep all your staff?
yes,
busy?
been very lucky. Laura Wooden has been out because she had an illness, and so she's been out for 2 or 3 weeks now. And I assume she'll be out for another week or so. But we've had wonderful people there. I mean, they've really worked hard, and we're able to work apart. So it works for us. We feel, you know, we hate that all this is happening, but we do feel that we have had a wonderful opportunity to do a lot of things that we've needed to do that we hadn't had time to do. And I think it will make a big difference in the way we operate. I just wish we could go back to the way we were as far as operating, but I don't see that that's anytime soon at all.
But back to Britt's question, what would be the things that you would want to see before you could say, yeah,
Well,
we can
I don't
do,
know.
these
I
might
mean,
be our
you
next
know,
steps?
I don't know. I mean, don't you think it would be great decrease in cases? Or would it be a vaccine? I don't know. I don't know which, you know, I don't think a vaccine, we have to wait for 12 to 18 months for a vaccine. You know, we don't want to wait that long to open. So I don't know what libraries are going to do all over the country. I just feel like that somebody's going to figure out something. I hope so.
Is it possible to require masks? Let's say you do decide on a
Well,
limit.
you can't, I don't think we can legally require them, but
Yeah.
I have read a lot about this, but we can ask people to, and I think if we ask them to, they will. We do have masks that the town has given us. That's the only thing we've gotten so far, because that's the only thing they had, but, and we could provide those to people, but we think most people will wear theirs. I don't know, you know, I haven't been any place, so I've been to the grocery store now 3 times, so that's it. And I've seen a lot of people without masks, but I've seen people with masks. So,
Well, you can't require, so we require people to wear a mask to come into our medical office,
mhm.
but it's a public building, and so the library can't say in
Well,
order
I
to
don't know. I
enter.
just read
Yeah.
someplace that you know, that you couldn't make a law about it, or but I guess
But,
we could make a rule, you know.
Well, the governor's done what the governor's done.
Right.
And so those executive orders, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at this, are not mandates. They're not mandates in Tennessee. But a store, you know, like Maggie said, a store can say, this is our policy.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can check with Harry if you would like for me to find out that with our town attorney.
Sure.
If you could say, this is our policy.
Mhm. Well, I think if we said that, people would abide by it. So I don't really think we'd have any arguments, but who knows? When you read the letters to the editor, you wonder.
Yeah, but we're a small town, and
Yeah.
if you followed any of the social media stuff, I work very hard to stay out of the national debates. We're not. I think someone responded and said, you know, to expect us to referee that on a local basis when we're trying to figure out whether or not to open up a parking lot is
Yeah.
not reasonable.
Mhm.
But it is reasonable to expect us to have plans as to how,
Mhm.
you know, you want to go on. You don't want to put the library in a situation where it stays closed so long that it becomes irrelevant.
No, that's true. And that's why we've tried to have this regular communication with the patrons, so they'll know what we're doing and how, and we've really sent out lots and lots of links to
Yeah.
support systems and support activities, things for children to do and things for adults to do. And I felt like that was the best thing we could do. We had really thought about doing a online story time, but honestly, I feel like our children up here are so used to seeing really good quality things on
Yeah.
videos. We don't want to do one that's just, I mean, it's not, you know, we could not do that. We couldn't do a really good quality, and they're kind of jaded. So we don't want to, we also don't want to just bombard them with more screens, you know, so we're trying to figure out, that's why we've sent out a lot of things that are print available things that parents can print out and do with their children.
Karen, I think you have done a marvelous job sending all the websites
Thank you.
and things out. I've enjoyed going through some of them myself. You know, maybe I'm just a child at heart. I don't know.
No, but some of them are.
I
really
enjoy
fun.
playing.
So they've been delightful. It has been fun to look at them, especially, you know, some of them are here in Chattanooga, so that makes it even more fun. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I don't know that there's an answer to any of it. I guess that's just what I think
Yeah.
all of us are saying, we don't know what the answer is. But when it comes time to make a decision, have we been responsible in the thought process? So,
Mhm.
I think that's important, that people know that you just didn't close the doors and just,
Yeah.
we'll do it eventually. No, we're thinking about it and things that, you want to be mindful of what's going on and not cause more problems. So,
Well, we were really gratified by the people, the attendance and the excitement that people seemed to feel when we had that book sale, and we had those books tied up so you couldn't even see what you're getting. So it was just
I love that.
yeah, and
And they bought them anyway.
they
that
did.
way.
They bought them
I
anyway.
think that's wonderful. I think
So
that's
that was,
great.
it was fun, and we feel like we really have some wonderful things that we're going to sell they're things that just haven't been checked out in years. They're wonderful books. We're not getting rid of classics, but there are things like series of books, long series, and we have to get rid of some of them because we have so many more to show.
I know
And
this
think
is sorry.
No, I just think people will be excited.
Yeah, and they were really excited. I agree for the books out back. Maybe we're thinking about. I mean, again, we don't know how this is going to work out, but maybe this is the resurrection of the bookmobile. Or neighborhood kinds of things that libraries do, and start thinking out of the box as we watch what happens nationally.
That's a great idea.
It's an idea, yeah. I think it's important to maintain some kind of activity, but it's just so many other facilities and businesses have just been arbitrarily opening just because
Because they can.
yeah, because they don't know
They're
what else to
desperate.
do. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know is the best answer we can have to most of these questions.
absolutely,
Like Maggie said.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if the CDC knew what to say about libraries opening, they would have said it by now,
Yeah.
because everybody's asking the questions.
Mhm.
So I think just being thoughtful and looking at all the options. I don't think any of us are giving you, Karen, any guidelines one way or the other, because we're just saying, I don't know, but are we thinking about everything
yeah.
that goes around with the decision? And I do think it's important to protect the staff as well. It is about the patrons, but we have employees. You have employees, the town has employees, and it's a small place. And so there's a lot of contact
Mhm.
with patrons.
Mhm.
And so I think that's also a consideration point as well. So there's nothing easy about any of this. Yeah.
No. And to Sandy's point, Karen, if you want to meet with us again over the summer to talk about some of these things and throw some ideas at us, I think that would be a great thing. And if
Yeah.
Carter and Beth wanted to join and give us some ideas about how we might be able to help, because I don't know if there's anything else we can do, but it would be good to know.
I agree. Thank you. I think that'd be wonderful. We'll plan on that, doing that.
September's a long time.
Yeah, no,
It is a long time, especially with us having so many things that, like the fundraiser. I mean, it all of a sudden stopped, So we've got to keep the momentum going somehow, and ways for people to. I think the idea of the reserve books, opening that back up again. I mean, that's one more little step that helps. And I love the idea of the bag of books. I think that is wonderful. So, are you all taking any donations now? Are you?
We haven't taken, we
Not
told
to?
people we weren't taking donations right now. We'd like to, we've had some that were just left at the door, so we put them inside, but we've asked for people not to bring them right now because we
I
just
didn't
need a
think
place.
you were.
to put them, but we will probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll tell people they can do that again, because it is a huge source of income for the Book Nook. But if we can't sell, if we can't open
You
to
can't
sell
sell
them,
anyway.
you know. But this was such a great way to be able to be safe and careful and still please people and make money for the library. And I really feel like a lot of the people that came and bought things at that sale were doing it to support the library
Sure.
as well
Yeah.
as just to buy the books, you know.
I think so too.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
And I know this is going to seem like I'm being pushy, but
Yeah.
because this is an unfolding situation and we're learning more on a weekly basis what's going on, I think we really should go ahead and at least plan another meeting now. And
Right.
Thank
so
you.
that we can talk about what has happened between now and then. And
Okay.
here's the pushy part. It'd be great to hear from you what a phased opening for the library, which you're already doing some of those things, but what the next phases might look like if you were to set it up that way, and what are some things you might be able to do in
I
terms of
started to do that
scheduling
for this.
people and what's that?
I started to do that, but I just talked through it. I didn't say the phases, but I can do that. That's no problem.
How do you guys feel about that?
I
Sure.
think it's a
yeah.
great idea.
Yes, I like that.
I don't think that we will, and I don't think we should feel, pressured to do anything, but it's great to kind of lay out the thoughts and think through the process and talk about what makes sense.
Exactly.
And to watch, because there are libraries in Northwest Georgia that have opened.
Yeah.
And so there's some libraries around us that have opened, right, Karen?
That's right. But they
And
are
so-
very small libraries.
Yeah, and
And
so it'll be
so-
interesting to see, especially if some of the bigger libraries start to open,
Mhm.
exactly what the
I've-
issues are.
I've spoken with Corinne Hill at the downtown library, and she has no plans right now to open. I mean, she doesn't know they have a lot of other issues that we don't know.
Right,
They have the
right,
homeless that they have
right.
really
Yeah,
big deal for them, but
because it
Um,
becomes an issue of COVID testing for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't think that will be an issue on Signal Mountain in terms of, I don't, people shouldn't be at the library when they're sick, and I think it depends on it's a different population, let's just say that, yeah.
All right, so maybe when we do that, I mean, do we want to plan on a month or do we want to plan on 2 weeks?
it's up to y'all, whatever you like. It's
If
fine
we-
with me.
If we have a special called meeting like this, and this is the only thing we're discussing, and you can say this is a 30-minute meeting. Let's get to it.
Well, why don't we do it on, what about June the 8th? That would be, that's 2 weeks. You want to make it the 15th? It's up to y'all.
Is that a Monday?
That's a Monday.
That's council. We'll be
Oh, that's council. That's right. We'd either have to have it the 8th or the 22nd. I guess. Isn't that right?
that's us. Yes, ma'am.
No, is the council going to meet on the 2nd and the 4th?
We're second and fourth. Yeah.
All right. So the 8th is the 2nd. So the 15th would be
The normal
third.
meeting for
That
this,
would be our
yeah.
norm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So why don't we do it on June the 15th? Is that all right with y'all?
Yes. Works for me.
I honestly don't see
yeah.
all that much changing between now and June 15th. So I think it's,
Yeah, I think the
But I
same.
could give you a report on the fact that we're probably going to open up the reserve.
that's great, but in terms of a big,
Oh, no,
I
don't.
think we're just sort of chugging our way forward. So
Ready
I think
for
the 15th is fine. And it gives just some more information gathering about those libraries that have opened and really what
Yeah.
Hamilton County looks like. I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Sounds good.
All right. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
I so
I so
move.
move.
Second,
That.
That was Sandy.
we're adjourned.
Thank you for all you do, Karen.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank
Thank you.
Goodbye.
All
Thanks for
right,
putting this
bye-bye.
together, Dan.
Uh,
Stan,
Easy peasy.
bye-bye,
Dan, thank you for setting it
And
up,
thank you,
Dan.
Dan.
See you guys. Bye.
bye-bye.
Yeah.
See everybody.
Bye.